Welcome everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? As you're jumping on, please, please, please let me know that you're here. Just curious how everybody's doing. Did anybody use any of the methods that we talked about last night? Did you practice it all today? Please let me know. I'm just going to bring up the page here because not always do I see the comments up there. So let's see, make sure we are live. We are. Okay, we've got 5 people in here already. Good, good. Okay, hi April, hi Jamie. Hi Kathy. Kathy says she tried it out today. Judy's with us. Karen's here. Okay guys, I'm just doing some prepping. I'm starting off with some Peachy Keen chalk paint. I've got a little bit of an echo here. Let me get rid of that. Hi Elaine. You didn't like the saran wrap method. Okay. For smoothing it out? Oh, or for ironing it on. Which one? Which one did you try? Hi, Pam. So I'm just putting on a base coat of peach to start out with. And this is for one of our projects tonight. Ironing it on. Yeah, I'm not a fan of it either. I find like it does stick down as long as you get it good and hot. But just the whole thought of melting down plastic is, I'm not a fan. Not a fan of that at all. It just doesn't seem like a good idea. Okay. So I just apply it one way, then I apply it the other way just to make sure it's nice and smooth and I don't have a lot of brush strokes, okay? I'm going to set that aside and let that dry. I don't have a water container tonight. I knew I forgot something. So we'll just set it over there on a baby wipe for now. Okay. So we're going to start off with making sure my hands are super clean. Hi, Barb. Hi, Linda. If I've missed anyone, I apologize. Mel. Wendy's here. That was Peachy Keen. I don't even think I've used Peachy Keen before in any of my projects because I opened up a brand new jar. I didn't see one lying around. So this is the shade. Just let me clean off my container here. That's the color there. And I'm just using it just for a background for a project. Okay. And again, I got paint all over me. Oh, we're going to be a messy one tonight. Chris is a little busy tonight. He's doing supper and stuff with Maya. I'll be fine. Okay. So we're going to work with the bee napkin tonight, guys. And we're going to work with some burlap. Some of you might have got a piece in your kit. It was one of the door prizes. Just I threw in some doily and some burlap and some stuff like that in some of the boxes. It was just kind of like a surprise. Here's your door prize. So to start off for that one, should we do the card first before? Let's do the card first before we build dimension. Let's get this one done. Now that I've got burlap all over the place. So this is just a regular piece of cardstock. Thundering like crazy again. Oh, we had that this afternoon. It was like an hour ago. And I was like, power better not go off because I will be devastated if we can't do this tonight. That's the door prize you got. Awesome. Something can get it on hit play. Get nothing. I'm not sure what you're saying, Emma. I'm not sure what you're asking there. Okay, so this is just a regular piece of cardstock, and you just cut it down to whatever size you want for a card. And then fold it in half. And then we're going to take our regular Mod Podge. I like using the matte because it dries nice and nice and non-sticky. Ooh, that's a brand new one. I don't need to open that one. Let's go back to this one. Hey, April. Hi, Chrissy. Okay, so we're going to put a nice, healthy coat on here. Now, the only thing I find when you do cards is they do sometimes come out a little warped, okay? So if you want it perfectly flat, which most of us do when we're giving away a card, you'll want to set that underneath a book or something afterwards, just to really flatten it out. It's just because when paper gets wet, it naturally wants to buckle. So there's not much you can do about that. But we're just going to apply a nice coat. Okay, it was having problems with it playing. Sorry. Is playing okay for everybody else? Made sure I'm on the right Wi-Fi and everything. So hopefully there's no issues. Unless, of course, it starts storming again. Oops, I got a hair here that's going to stick right to that. So, how many of you tried stuff today, and did you have luck with it, or did you not have luck with it? And is there any questions about last night? Okay, people are saying it's fine. That's good, good, good. Is there any questions about last night if you did play around with it? All right, get a good coat on. Make sure I got all my edges really done well. Whoops. Just a little more over there. Never tried anything yet. You're finishing up other projects. I getcha. You had luck, you think? Just too heavy-handed with the Mod Podge. Yeah, sometimes that happens. Okay, so now we're just going to dry this up. With this, you want a nice thin coat, okay? How thin should the Mod Podge be? In this one, as little as possible, but make sure you got good coverage. So it should be all shiny, but you want to make sure you got some good coverage on there, okay? And we're going to dry it up. Did that work better for you, Emma? I see you just popped back in. Okay, that should do the trick. And then I'm going to take part of this napkin. I've already cut it in half. Don't think I can get both birds in, so I'm going to go with the one with just the one bird. So, scissors. Just got here. Yeah, I'm working on cardstock right now. Just regular old cardstock. I should have went, oh, I don't even have the wrapper for it anymore to know what weight it is. But it's just thin, cheap cardstock, nothing special. Okay. And make sure you remove your backer sheets. There is 2 layers, but mine is peeled off both layers. The backer ones, both peeled off together. And then I'm just gonna make sure that's not too tacky. I'm gonna position this on top however I want it. I'd like to get that other little hummingbird down there on there. I think just like that, okay? Lay it out flat. Oh, I'm gonna have to reach. My parchment paper moved on me. And then I'm gonna lay my piece of parchment paper over top. It's just the perfect size. And then I'm gonna grab my little iron. Yeah, try shutting off your, if it's your phone or your computer or something, try shutting it off and then turning it back on maybe. Now, if you don't have a silicone mat, you might want to just put a tea towel or something like that underneath, or do it on your ironing board if you still own one of those. I don't know too many people that still own ironing boards. I actually have two, but they're up in the attic. They only come out for when I'm quilting. But I still own them. The hubby's talked about getting rid of them, and I'm kind of like, no, I might go into quilting again sometime. Doesn't feel like it's all that hot yet. I might not have left the iron on long enough yet. Let's see. Yeah, it's just going to need another second to warm up. It is glued down, but as I'm running my finger along the edge, you know how on your napkins, it has this edging? I don't know if you can see that. The bumps, the kind of, it's how they've binded the layers together. I can still feel it a tiny bit right there on my piece, so I know it's not ironed totally flat yet. Yep, just regular cardstock is what I'm working on right now. Yep, that's better. Okay. Oh, now hopefully I didn't glue my card together. There we go. So that is the starting of our card. Making sure my window's turned the right way here, my camera. And then I can still take the sandpaper. I just hold the cardboard close, like my fingers are close to the edge. And I move down. And I can still just trim it off with my sandpaper. And remember, it's always in that one motion. Don't go back and forth. Lift it up and come back down. And that'll give you nice, clean edges on it. I think this is a beautiful way of doing cards. I like to do these at Christmas time. I buy all the Christmas napkins and I make little gift tags with them, and I make cards, and I just think it's a nice handmade touch to do. It's also a great thing to do if you found a napkin that you absolutely love and you're like, this is too pretty for a dirty face, which most of them are. You could also put it on cardstock and put it in a picture frame. And that's it. That's all there is to making a card, guys. It's really that simple. And this one's got a little bit of a curve to it, but not bad. And then you can just set it in a book, leave it overnight. You know, a good thick encyclopedia is what I use. I still own encyclopedias. I don't use them for anything else but to weigh down my books, or my cards, but I still own encyclopedias on my wall unit. They look nice sitting on the wall unit, and they're handy for flattening out things like this. So how many of you have ever done a card before? Have any of you made cards with the cards, or with napkins? It's like, cards are not cheap anymore, guys. So if you're giving out cards at Christmas and stuff, why not just buy a package of napkins? And like, you can do, what is there, like usually 12 to 20 in it at Christmas time, in a package of napkins, that you can make a lot of cards that way. You've made name tags, okay? Oh, you've done the envelope. I've done that too. Envelopes are touchy. I've done the, what do you call it? The heavier cardboardy kind of ones. I've tried doing a regular one. It kind of warps a little much, I find. It can be done, but it's just, depends on the paper. It's got to be a good envelope. I always wonder that if I'm in a store and I see somebody buying a package of napkins and I'm like, you're not going to wipe your face on that, are you? Okay, you do it with cards. Yeah, my grandmother always did that. She would save all her cards from Christmas time or from birthdays, and then using pinking shears, she would trim them all, and she would put a little hole punch in them, and she would use those over again. I love that. I've done that for years as well. Okay, so that is how quick and easy that project is. Now I'm going to bring this one over. This one we're going to come back and forth to a couple times throughout the night, okay? You're going to try it, okay. Like, seriously, if it doesn't work, which I can't imagine why it wouldn't, it's pretty simple. If it doesn't work, like, you haven't wasted much. It's kind of like the bottle idea, right? When we use our bottles or our cans, at least we're not wasting anything when we're practicing. So I'm just going to make sure this is good and dry. And I'm going to kind of eyeball an imaginary line down this for you, okay? I'm going to apply some crackle to one side, and I'm going to do Mod Podge to the other, and we're going to see which crackle we like better. So, oh, better not use a Mod Podge brush in there, though. I better give that a stir. Grab a stir stick. Yep, that's separated a little bit. So how many of you have done crackle before, whether it be with glue, whether it be with a actual crackle substance, or with Mod Podge? Can you just let me know how many of you have tried crackling things before? Also, in case you don't know, when you're stirring things, make sure you drag the bottom and you drag the sides, because that's where all your molecules like to hang out. Okay, Kathy, you've done it. So which one have you used? April's done it. Jamie does it a lot. Okay. And what is your favorite crackle medium? Do you use Elmer's glue? Do you use a crackle substance? Do you... Oh, I just threw that on the floor too. I totally miss the garbage can every time tonight. I'm going to have a heck of a mess over there. All right. So I just wet my brush. I use a flat brush. I'm going to have an imaginary line down it, just so we see the difference. I like to apply a coat going in one direction, make sure I get good coverage. If I miss some, it's not a big deal because it's going to crackle anyways, right? And then I like to wipe off all the excess off my brush, and I like to go in and just kind of remove some in different patterns. Just so that when it does crackle, it doesn't do it in completely straight lines. So I'm just removing some excess here and there. Okay. Crackle with glue, crackle with crackle medium, but not with decoupage. You like the crackle medium best. Yeah, that's the one that I like best too. I haven't tried that 2-part one. I did look at it and thought I should try it, but it's a little pricey, and like there's cheaper options to do it, and it does come out, I think, relatively the same. So I'm getting as close as I can to that other line. The one thing about the Mod Podge or the Elmer glue is you can see it going on. So you can see better if you've missed spots. Okay, so I've got a relatively good coverage. You can see it's all shiny. There's some spots that are heavier. There's others that are lighter. And that works fine because the heavier the crackle in some spots, the more it's going to make the bigger cracks, okay? So now that I've got a good coverage on there, I'm applying a little bit extra with this one. So kind of the opposite of what I did with the crackle medium. I'm just kind of zigzagging my pattern a bit because I don't want straight lines of crackle. Okay. Can everybody see that okay? You can kind of see the texture over here a bit when I move it in the light from where I've gone back and forth in different directions. This one you definitely see it. And then I'm going to let that sit for a bit. And I'm going to go over to this big surface here. Is each, if you bought the kit, you did get one of these in there, so you can choose what you want to do with your project. This one, I'm not going to paint it or stain it or anything. I'm just going to put some Mod Podge on this. And I'm sorry, but we are going back and forth tonight with a few projects just for the speed of getting them done. Just rather than sit here and dry paint and dry glues and crackles, I thought it'd be easier if I just rotate back and forth. So I hope it's not too confusing for you. Oh yes, the cheek crackle with the stamp. That, it works so well. It really does. I use that one way more probably than I do actual crackling stuff now. That was something that we did in our sorority group. Oh, I meant to, that's what I forgot to do today. I meant to get the link for you for the sorority. I was going to open it up for you guys. If you wanted to join, I can take probably 6 more people in the group at this time. Without getting it too big, because I want to be able to, you know, answer lots of questions and stuff like that in there still. So I don't want the group to get too big on me too fast. So I could probably take 6 more people in the sorority if they wanted to join. I meant to get the link for you. And I also realized I forgot to put the link for all the things I used last night. So I apologize for that. I will try and get that done tomorrow. Okay, so I've got a good hefty coat on there. And while it's wet, I'm going to lay my piece of burlap on top. And I'm just using it as a glue. Jamie likes that idea too. Nothing showed up for my live. You mean like there was no notification that came up from Facebook? So I'm just making sure it's really stuck down well. It's still wet, so you will be able to peel, but I just want to make sure that it is tacky. Okay, so then I'm going to dry it up. Oh, I don't know why Facebook wouldn't do that for the private group. I did put a notification on my regular page that we were going live at 8 again, but Facebook doesn't always cooperate. Okay. Jamie said she didn't get one either. Facebook. Burlap doesn't like to always sand off very nicely, but it does take off a good amount of it for me. If you wanted a really clean edge, then you should probably flip it over, trace it, and cut it to the exact size. But I don't mind a little fringe because I like rustic, right? So it leaves me a fringe. It just takes off all the lengthwise pieces. Now, if you were to do a cotton instead, you're not going to get as much texture, but it will come off much easier than this does. So we're going to decoupage over top of canvas. Nothing came up. Isn't that weird? hands are a little sore today. Having a hard time to hold this. And one last side. Oh, Judy got a notification. So it's working for some people, but not for others. That one's going to be a little too long there. So if you have any pieces that you find are just too long and wispy, you can trim them back. But I do want to leave a little texture just to keep that rustic look. Okay. Now, I'm going to get this mess out of the way. I layered my mat tonight because I was like, this is going to be messy. So then I can just shake that off in the garbage after. Okay. So, I'm going to be applying the bee to this. Now, we're going to stick with what they say on keep it light and airy. So now that we've got our piece of burlap on there or canvas or whatever you're using, I'm going to grab, oh, that's crinoline. I'm going to grab some Simplicity here, my whitest white, just so it shows up well for you. And I'm going to paint my burlap. Now, it's not going to give you full coverage unless you did several coats. And that's okay. I want it to be rustic. I want it to look like it's been lying around and beaten up. Because that's what I love. But if you like more of a pristine look, well, you probably wouldn't be using the burlap. But you can do a full coverage. Like you could go over this a couple times. Oh, we forgot to draw our button. Let's see what button we have too after I get this on. I'm going to run it over my fringed edge there a bit too. Okay. Give my fringed edge a little highlight there. So that's all I really need. Just something to brighten it up a bit. Now this needs to dry for a couple seconds. So while we're waiting for that to dry, let's grab our 2 button bags. Crash boom bag. These are the 2 button bags that we have left. Who got buttons? What color button are we hoping for? Yesterday, Cheryl told me that she got it. I don't know if anyone else had the gold button yesterday. Ooh. Today's vintage button is just a little red button. Whoops. There it is. Just a little red button. Yeah, shipping can be high. But believe it or not, most of our customers are actually in the US. I can't grip onto this very well. It's just a little red button. Did anyone get a kit that had a little red button? Make sure to let me know, okay? You're going to have to shoot me a message if I don't see it on here. But if you got the little red button, then let me know. I'm going to toss that over there so it doesn't go back in the bucket. And then tomorrow night is whatever button the last button is. So let me know if you got the red button. I'm going to write down that tonight was the red button. I think there should have been 2 people for each button, so unless we've got 3 boxes still sitting over there. So unless the buttons are still sitting over there in those boxes. Yesterday was gold button. Today was red button. Nope. I don't know. Brittany did the buttons. I think they were in a plastic bag inside the box. In just a little clear plastic bag. Hi, Christine. So if somebody got the red button, there's, I think, 2 people. Let me know. They might be somebody watching replays too, because there's a few people that couldn't make it for the lives. And they said they were going to be just watching replays, so. I'll make sure this is dry, and then we're going to decoupage our bee on here. Better check that crackle. I don't want that to get too dry on me. Let's check that out. Yep, we're probably good. So it's still, you can tell that it's still a little wet. It's just kind of tacky. And that's when I go in with my paint. So I'm using crinoline. It's just an off-white. I'm going to grab a clean paintbrush for this. Ooh. To give it a little stir there. And you're going to try not to, like, brush it too many times. Like, don't go back and forth, back and forth. If it leaves little spaces, we're okay with that. I'll just add to the crackle. Okay. So I've just got kind of a messy white coat on there. I'm going to set this one aside just because if it did pick up any of that, I don't want to contaminate my other side. Oh, yours was in a burlap bag. Okay. Good to know. And then I'm going to apply it to this side as well. Now we just got to remember, this side was the crackle. Here, let me do this. This side was crackle. That side was Mod Podge. And as provided I don't turn my container or my piece away. Okay. And then I'll throw that over there. You bet that's what you did wrong? You go over it too many times? No, just lay it down as quick as possible. Do not turn that, Angie, or we'll get it confused. And then we're going to dry it up. I'm going to dry it up close to you so that you guys can watch the crackle effect. Because it should start crackling like pretty much right away. You can use a hair blower. You can let it dry naturally. You can use a heat tool like I'm using. Trying to see if there's any wet spots, but still hold it up for you. See a little wet spot in that corner? There we go. And there we go. How's that for crackle? Okay, so this was the crackle. This was the Mod Podge. I still like the crackle better. See how it's just much finer? It looks like an old barn door or something that you could just like flick the pieces off of. This one's still nice. You can see though when I go thinner with it over here, it doesn't give me any crackle, where even on the thin stuff here, it's still crackled. So I still prefer the crackle over the Mod Podge, but you know, if you're in a pinch and that's what you got, it still crackles it. Okay. We'll come back to that. How are you? Still a little damp. Crackle is a beautiful thing. It's also really cool when you take different layers of different colors. And so like the first one I'm trying to think, I did as stand for when I do my displays. It's an old screen door kind of look. And so the frame, I did it like, I think it was teal first. And then I put spots of Vaseline on it, or chapstick. And then I applied paint over that. And then you wipe back after it's dry. And whatever has Vaseline or chapstick underneath, or beeswax, you could use the beeswax bars, it tends to flake off, right? And then I put crackle over top of the whole thing again. And so when it crackles, you could see all the different layers of paint. It made it look like it was like really old and it's been painted several times. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to take my napkin, which somehow I got a little wet. Just sitting there. I must stick a baby wipe on it. But that's okay. So it had 4 bees, and this came in the kit. Cheryl's prize last night for the gold bead, because they're sitting over there and they're in bags already that say what the prizes were for what, not beads, sorry, buttons. This one might be harder to get it apart. I might have to use tape. Yeah, I'm going to have to use some tape. Her prize package last night was the lights that we showed last night. The lights for the mason jars, an extra bee napkin. There was something else in there. I can't remember what it was. But that was her prize. That's going out to her. I don't think Cheryl's with us tonight because it's her husband's birthday. She messaged me today about it. There we go. But like I said, don't put it right on the design because sometimes it rips. See? Got a little tear there, but it's not on the actual bee, so I'm okay. Tonight's prize, I should have peeked and seen what those other 2 bags were. I know one has quite a few cool napkins in it. So I'm just gently, this one seems to be stuck really well to the backer, so I am pulling very delicately and taking that backer sheet off. Where's my water pen gone? I know I had it. Oh, there it is. Okay, so now I'm just going to take my water pen. I'm going to squeeze out a little water. Make sure my bristles are good and wet. And I'm going to pull it apart. Now, if you want, you can fussy cut this. I'm just not a big fan on fussy cutting. I find this so much easier. think I got some Mod Podge on the end there. Yep, I did. That's what's wrong with my brush. So let me work that out. Sorry about that. I must have set a brush on it last night. There we go. I was like, I could hear a scratching sound as I was doing this. So I'm just taking my nail and I'm ripping away the excess. And if you don't have the water brush, you can just use a regular paintbrush. Or like I said, you can fussy cut this out. Oops, I just ripped his leg. But that's okay. We'll just set it aside. I can fix that afterwards. Nobody will even notice. This napkin does seem to be thinner than the ones that we used last night. This is the first time I've used the bees, so just keep that in mind, that it is a much more fragile napkin. Let's try and keep that leg intact. But at least when I make mistakes, then you can see how I fix them. Oops, a little more water there. If you find you're in a really delicate area, the other thing you could use is the eraser end off your on your pencil, just to kind of grip it and pull. This one's very fragile. I wouldn't want to use that. I'm just using the very tip of my nail. But sometimes the pencil way works good. There we go. Now, even though this edge is actually doesn't have any excess napkin, I am going to fringe it still too, because I find it just blends in better. Hope you guys can see this okay. I'm going to have to be very careful around those antennae, but if they come off, then I might just pen them back on, just because there's such thin lines. I might have to do that. I think I'm going to. That's just going to be too thin. I won't be able to save those. They're just like a pencil line, right? So to try and save that is a little more difficult. There we go. So there's my bumblebee. And he's all ruffled and definitely looking rustic. Can I use background paint to cover the edges? You mean on here? Yeah, absolutely. Oh, you mean like the peach? You can crackle your edges if you want. Whatever works for you. I'm going to apply a coat of Mod Podge now. Got so many brushes on the go, I'm looking at them going, which one is which? So I'm just going to apply a hefty coat of Mod Podge on here. And just kind of let it soak down into your burlap or your lace or whatever kind of surface you're using for texture. This is just going to help seal it anyways. I don't know how close to the edges I really need to go, but if I need to, I can lift up the edge of the bee after. But you can see it's a lot of Mod Podge that I'm applying because I really want it to soak down into it. Okay. Then I'm going to take my bee and I'm going to kind of eyeball how I want them on there and gently set them down. And I'm just tapping it lightly just to make sure his legs are going in the right directions. Make sure his body is slightly down. No pressure though, guys. Like, don't push down on it. Just light taps. Okay, so I'm gonna have to bring a little more Mod Podge out on my edge here. I think all the rest of it, I think we're down pretty good. Okay, so I want you to see that it's just loosely on there still. I've just kind of tapped them into place, okay? Now you're going to need a stiff brush. Now, I like to use this brush, the palm brush. I have one that I use for dark wax, one that I use for light wax, and then one that is strictly for Mod Podge. This one is strictly when I'm decoupaging, okay? And I'm just going to press down. Okay? If I get Mod Podge on this, I should have a rag. Just lightly wipe it off. If it gets too much buildup at the end of the night, like when I'm done, if it feels stiff, I just take it and go and wash it. And it all comes out. But you're just bouncing it up and down. And pretty good pressure on it. Let's fix that little leg. My water pen. I'm missing just the tip of his leg here. And then I make sure he is all in there nice and flat. Can you guys see the texture? Like, it's almost like he has been painted right into the fabric. See that okay? And I find by pouncing it like that, I wish I could get a really good view of it for you. Oh, there we go. Can you see that it looks like it's part of the fabric, like it's inked right into it. Is there any questions? And once you've pounced it, if you had enough Mod Podge underneath, the whole thing should be tacky. Like, I don't need a top coat on there. It's completely wet. It has soaked it all up. Now, if you don't have one of those palm brushes, you can use a chip brush, okay? The only thing is the chip brushes, you know how it's, I don't know how to explain this. This is very dense. There's a lot of fibers, like they're very small fibers, but there's like a bazillion in there, and they're really pressed in tight and close, okay? So it's got a good stiff bristle. These are kind of flimsy. So when you're doing it, can you see how the bristles just kind of bend and twist? So when you're using something like this, I find when it pushes down and it wants to give that bend, occasionally it rips your napkin just because those bristles are pushing outwards. Where if you get a good stiff brush like this, when you're pushing that down, there's very few bristles that are separating and going off, okay? But when you use these, like, they do work, but you can't push as hard. Where I push quite hard with this one. This one, I'd be worried that all those are just going to rip my napkin. What's blurry? Is the picture blurry? Are we saying the image is blurry? I don't know if that's what you're saying, but just in case, I gotta wipe here. Just excuse me while I clean my lens. Is that better? It might be the smoke. There's a lot of smoke in this area. I'm joking. It's not that bad in the house. I made all my comments go. Now I can't see. That's better? It's fuzzy. Really? I don't know why. It looks clear on my end. Sorry, just checking my Wi-Fi just to make sure. Are we still here? Fuzziness comes and goes. Okay. How about I jump off and then I jump back on and we'll see if it's on my end, okay? I'll be back in just a minute. It might be the storm. I'll be right back, guys.